Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to be exploring a very interesting integration that we've built where we combine the power of pen testing as a service, PTaaS, and threat modeling, and how combining that can give you some immense benefits when it comes to your security program. So, first of all, most of you who are watching this video have probably seen Security Review, and Security Review is our AI native security design review and threat modeling product. And that's something that we've been using, our customers have been using for a while now. Security Review allows you to do threat models and security design reviews for applications and systems of all shapes and sizes. So in this case, for this example, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking up a particular project for which I've already done a security review. And I'm going to combine that with Pentest-as-a-Service to show you how you can really amp up your security validation activity along with threat modeling. So threat modeling essentially gets you to the point of saying these are the risks that are there to my system or my application, and from there your security program follows. It could be static analysis, it could be source composition analysis, supply chain security, dynamic application security testing. All of that stuff comes in after that. The idea here is that your threat model should be able to give you a great deal of insight into the rest of your security program. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I already have a review that is done or mostly done. And in this review, you will see that it has some security objectives. This is for a system called OWASP Juice Shop. So this is application that we are doing a review for. Now, this application, the way we are doing the review is that we've actually just crawled the GitHub repository of this, and then we've used the GitHub repository to gain information about what this application does, how it works. So this is again something that Security Review does. You can just literally get a detailed walkthrough of the application just through the code base. You don't even have to feed it any other documentation. So this is what we've done. We've done a review based on this only as the input, nothing more. And we've gotten some security objectives. You'll see that these are the security objectives. Some of them are contractual internal security requirements and so on. We have identified some data dictionary elements, sensitive data sets that are critical for this particular product to function. What are those data sets? And of course, we have identified threat scenarios. So threat scenarios are, again, very specific threat scenarios that can affect this particular system or this particular application based on the data that it's gleaned from the document we fed in and the rest of the documents we've created, or the diagrams that we could have fed, or data that we pulled from Jira or any other third-party system. So these are the threat scenarios, and you'll see that these are very specific threat scenarios. Now, this is where the PTaaS integration comes in. Based on these threat scenarios, we have created a bunch of security test cases. And this is something that you can do with AI on the system as well. Just generate a bunch of security test cases that can be validated either by your penetration testers or by your cloud testers or your network testers. In fact, gives you all of those parameters, and it tells you that these are the security test cases that you needed to run to validate and ensure that this application has been tested properly. You can actually just give this off to your security team or the rest of your security group and have them validate this and come up with pass fail status for each of these things. That's really the power of using security test cases as part of your threat modeling process. Now, what we are going to do is extend this, right? So we already have the threat scenarios, we have the test cases. Now we're going to load up a PTaaS agent, which is our Pentest-as-a-Service agent. This is a bunch of AI agents that will do the following things. First, it will walk the application just like a regular user. So this is called the profiling stage. It would walk the application like a regular user walks the application, and then it is going to collect all the features of the application, map it against the security test cases, and say that these are the security test cases. I'm going to merge all these security test cases and come up with a feature map of security test cases. Then we're going to run the actual pen test agent, where we're going to use a bunch of agents that we've built along with some tools in order to perform the pen test against these security test cases. So it actually has a very specific set of security test cases that it's performing tests against. And it would perform that for a regular web application. It would use a browser, and it would actually use scripts to run it against the REST API. So you can run it against any of these things and come up with a detailed pen test against it. So this is actually a very context-driven pen test that is low in terms of false positives, because it's actually testing it like a manual tester would. And at the same time, it's mapping it against real-world security test cases where it'll automatically mark pass or fail based on the vulnerable instances. So I'm going to show you how this works. I've already set this up. This is running on my local machine. I'm going to first do the profiling scan. So this would be the profiling scan that I'm going to run. This is just going to walk the application like a regular application. So you will see that it's going to spin up a browser very soon, and it's going to start walking the application like a regular user would. So you'll see that the browser has started doing, and the agent basically from this point in time controls the browser. They're not doing anything. You'll see there's no human intervention here. It's just that the agent will control the browser from this point in time, walk through the application, just profile the application like as if it were a real world user actually interacting with the application. Now, I'm going to pause this video because I don't think there's any point of showing you the entire profiling. It's going to take a while. And once we're done, I'm going to show you how the features and security test cases are gleaned. And then we're going to run the pentest agent, which is going to use all of this information and the mapped security test cases from SecurityReview.AI, pull that and perform a full-fledged pen test against this application, just like a manual pen tester would. So now the profiling stage is done. And what it's done is that it's profiled the application. The reason we do this is because we want to understand the application first. And it would be great to do that and then perform the pen test rather than just flying in blind. That's why we do the profiling stage. And that's, again, a bunch of agents that do it. So the way it works is that the profile now has identified a bunch of unique features, right? Order tracking, admin panel, so on and so forth, all of these things. Now, when you go into each of these areas, you will see that these are the URLs and these are the different test cases that have been identified against those URLs. So you'll see that all of those test cases have been identified. And this is great because now you have an understanding of what are the features, what are the test cases that you need to run against it. And remember, with PTaaS, it's great because you use agents to run, and you can also additionally verify this and validate this with human intervention. So it's always better to have human in the loop, and leveraging test cases for that would make it really powerful. And that's what we've done here as well. So you'll see that it's very detailed. Now we're going to take this existing knowledge that we have, which we have done in the profiling stage, and we're going to run a pen test against this using our PTaaS agents. Now, the PTaaS agents are going to use the browser. It's going to fire attack traffic using these security test cases. It's going to spin up some tools and fire attack traffic with those tools as well against this application to be able to do a pen test exactly like a human being would try and run. So this would be the pen testing part of it. So now we're done with the profiling. And the cool thing here is that you can actually perform a pen test against a very specific thing. So I'm just going to take one feature that I want to pen test. This is a cool thing, especially when you want to do continuous pen testing, that you can just take up specific features that you want to validate. Let's say you're building a release, you're adding some new feature, you can just take up that feature rather than testing the whole application. So this, I'm just going to take up this stuff. So this is what I'm going to do. And this is again going to start our PTaaS agents. It's going to run the feature tests. It's going to spin up a browser. Just as before, I'm running the browser and it's performing a test. It is basically gathering all the security test cases, and it is going to perform the test against all those test cases and then come up with the results. The cool thing about all this at the end of it is that it's going to write it back to security review and say that these are the test cases that failed, which means that these are the ones that are vulnerable. The rest of it were found to be okay. So this is going to spin up the browser, start testing again, and finish the pen test using the browser. So you can see that it's getting started to actually perform a pen test like a regular user would. So I'm just going to pause the video here and I'll show you the rest of it after this. So now we're done with the pen test, and the pen test agent has finished the pen test against the single feature that we tested, our registration and authentication with a single feature. Clearly, there are some issues here. It's identified 3 or 4 vulnerabilities, 3 vulnerabilities from the looks of it. So let's look at the actual vulnerabilities. So you'll see that insufficient password complexity, SQL injection, rate limit on authentication endpoint. The cool thing is that you get detailed requests and responses, and you're able to use that from a validation perspective and making sure that it's actual real stuff and not some fake data that is coming to you. The other thing that now it has done, remember, it's all of this is playing with the existing threat modeling process that we have. Since it has done it, you will see that it has started mapping the checks against this. So you'll see that several conditions are now failed because the vulnerability has been identified that affects those test cases. So you'll see that the vulnerability that affects those test cases has clearly failed, and you have a failed set of test cases, and you can use this to validate your entire threat model. This is the real power of leveraging Pentest as a service with threat modeling, because you can go full circle. And the same thing you can do with static analysis as well, not just with pentest agents. I just showed you an example of pentest agents, but you can do the same thing with static analysis to complete the circuit and make it even more powerful. That's really the benefit of leveraging threat modeling with pentest as a service or any other security validation activity that you can now do with AI agents, so that it'll save you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it also gets you results much faster than you would otherwise think possible. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found value in it. Thank you very much.